Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Future of Finance podcast. I'm your host, Marissa Wood with Union Financial Services. And today we're sitting down with Dee Costa again, who is an industry expert, been in the financial services industry for 40 plus years, is my personal business coach. And today's episode, we're going to get into something a little bit emotional. Now, oftentimes, experience is what drives people's passion in their career. And Dee experienced something pretty tragic in her 30s that really did ignite that passion for helping others in the financial services industry. And I think it will help a lot of listeners realize that there is solutions out there and there's ways to turn that tragedy into, I am going to be okay.
Thanks, Marissa. Yeah, my life completely changed when I was 37 years old. It was the day I got a pink slip, believe it or not. I was sitting in a conference room in Nashville, Tennessee. There were about 400 people in the room at the time, and I was in the front row. And I was listening to a speaker, and this gentleman came and sat down next to me, and he was wearing a very strong smelling cologne. And it was so strong and kind of wafting my way, and pretty soon I started getting a little nauseous. So I closed my eyes and just tried to concentrate on the speaker, but all I could hear was boom, boom, boom from the stage and the smell wafting my way. And I got a really uneasy feeling like something was wrong. And so I opened my eyes and I looked up, and there was my manager standing there motioning me to exit my seat and come with him. And he had a pink slip in his hand. Now, before anybody gets the wrong idea, it was one of those old yellow or pink telephone pads. And it just simply said, "Call your mother, it's urgent." So as I was walking out of that venue, there were 400 sets of eyes staring at me and my manager with the pink slip in his hand walking out of this auditorium. And back then, there were no cell phones. And so it was a very long walk to the office to make that call to my mother. I remember the carpet was paisley.
Oh my gosh.
And the colors were just jumping off. The whole room was spinning. I knew something was bad. And so I finally got to the office. I called my mom, and she simply said, "Dee, your father is gone." And I was like, "What? It was just a simple knee operation. What do you mean he's gone?" And, long story short, through a series of medical mishaps, during the process of a simple knee operation, 2 weeks before his retirement, he never made it home from that hospital. So I found myself scrambling for a flight to Salt Lake City, where I was born and raised, to the house that I grew up in. And I will never forget that day. I walked through the door, my mom, tears running down her cheeks, grabbing me and asking me, "Am I going to be okay?" Well, in the face of such grief, I didn't know if I was going to be okay, let alone was she going to be okay. And I didn't really quite understand it at the time, but my father had taken care of all the finances at that point. And even though I was in financial services, I had kind of made it a practice at that point to not do business with my family. Big mistake. But I didn't know the answer to that question. And I made it my mission that day. I thought, 2 weeks from retirement, for a woman who worked for 45 years, married to the same man, ready to take a cruise a month later, to not have that answer was just heart-wrenching to me. And I made it
asking your child, am I going to be okay?
Yeah, and it was such a sense of responsibility. My father had taught me everything. He, you are who you are when no one's looking, and you want people to be better off as a result of having met you. And here I was in the presence of my mom, not knowing. And what I found through that journey was the loss of one Social Security. My mom now was a single tax filer. So not only did she lose half her income, but she was in a higher tax bracket. So her planned retirement date at age 68 went out the window. She worked until she was 72 years old and then moved to California to be closer to me.
Wow.
But it was certainly not the happy retirement journey that any of us had planned. And interestingly enough, history has a funny way of repeating itself. I've been working with women specifically and financial advisors over many years to make sure that people have an answer to that question, including myself. And in December of 2021, my husband and I were watching Sunday Night Football. And I was kind of footballed out, football all day, all night.
Yep.
So I said, honey, I'm going to go watch a movie. And I went into my bedroom, and my husband followed me in. It was very curious. And there's a picture of my 16-year-old son who passed away in 1999 sitting on our dresser. My husband broke down crying that evening. And it wasn't just tears running down his face. He was really sobbing. And I was a little surprised. You never get over the death of a child, but it's been 25 years. And I was, rubbing his back and asking him, are you going to be okay?
Oh, yeah.
And he said, I don't know what's come over me. He said, I just miss him so much. And I can't wait to see him again. And eventually he settled down and went back to football, and I fell asleep. And the next morning I was working in my home office, and it was about 7 o'clock in the morning, and my husband knocked on the door, and he opened the door just a crack, which he never did. And he was like, honey. He's like, I've got to tell you something. I had the most amazing dream last night. He's like, I can't wait to tell you. It was so awesome. And I'm like, okay. I said, I'm on a business call right now. Let me finish this call, and then I'll come hear your dream. And so probably 30 seconds later, I heard this loud crash, bang, in my house. And it didn't sound right. And so I, disconnected from my caller, told him I'd call him back, and left my office and started calling my husband's name. Ed, what happened? What the heck happened? Where are you? And I went around the island in my kitchen, and there he was laying on the floor, eyes rolled back, kind of the death rattle. And literally, I thought he had just slipped and fallen. And I'm like, the same famous words, are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay? No response. And then, reality sets in, and I'm like, holy smokes. And dialed 911, started CPR. They came and were unable to revive him. And he passed away. And I never got to hear that dream.
Oh.
But it's just so interesting life events, because he was exactly the same age as my father, 67 years old.
Young.
Because of what happened with my father, because of the years of helping people prepare for that what if in life, fortunately, I was prepared. But just like my mom, Ed's Social Security stopped. Well, actually, that's not true. I'm taking Ed's Social Security right now until I turn 70, and then I'll turn on my own Social Security. But our plan of 2 Social Securities in retirement is null and void, gone like this. I am a single tax filer now, and that's brutal.
Yes.
But it's all, in my case, it was planned for. And I highly suggest, anyone, man or woman, I mean, statistically, women are going to outlive their husbands. So I have a real heart for planning for women, because we're typically the ones left behind with the one less paycheck, the higher tax bracket.
Yeah.
It's imperative that you understand finances. It's imperative that you have a plan to replace that Social Security check should something happen. We're typically going to live long lives.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing both of those stories, which I know intertwine. And, your life has been laced with a lot of tragedy, but you've really turned it into something beautiful. And sharing that story, helps other people that have been through, similar things or have worries of what if that happens. And, there's so many emotional aspects of it, obviously, but there is financial aspects of it as well. And the worst thing that could happen is, while you're in that stage of grieving and am I going to be okay emotionally and mentally, having to worry about, am I going to be okay financially? Can I afford my home? Can I keep the bills paid? Can I, afford to go see my kids? And that's a whole other level of tragedy sometimes on top of something that's already unthinkable.
And in this day and age, it's typically a two spouse income. Both spouses are working, and so women work just as hard as men to retire someday, and to feel like the rug is pulled out from underneath you. And what are my options now with half the income and higher tax bracket? And then in my specific situation, I'm in such great health. And Marissa, thank you for letting me share. Everybody has a story to tell, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of them. So I don't tell this to upset anyone, but to help them. Because now what I am concerned about is living too long because I am in great health and I've got a wonderful family. I am blessed beyond measure with a great son and daughter-in-law and granddaughter, and I'm trying to stay healthy to live a long life for them. Yeah. And so I think to myself, the one thing that now I do not want to have happen is to put a burden on them. There's no one to take care of. My husband's gone. There's no one to take care of me if I get sick. So I've planned, and with the help of you and your mom, who recommended a fabulous product that allows me the peace of mind to know that if something happens to me later in life, that I will have enough income to take care of an extended care event and not put that burden on the beautiful family that I have left. So they need to know that I'm going to be okay too.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful gift to give your children, that I have this planned and it's all going to be okay. And what you touched on briefly was that, and I think this is something that a lot of people don't even think about. We all do think sometimes, what if I die too soon? What if I live too long? But it's a really simple fact, and it is a fact, that both Social Security checks won't last forever. Whoever passes first,
that's right,
you're going to get rid of one of them. Luckily, they let you keep the higher of the two Social Security checks. But reality is, if you're used to living on, let's say, $5,000 a month with your spouse, and all of a sudden it's cut to $2,500, just because you have one less person in the house doesn't mean your bills are now half.
That's exactly right.
And I think people kind of assume that, well, our utilities will be less. Not really.
Nothing is less.
No.
Maybe the food bill
just
in
the
my
food,
case,
probably.
But
yeah.
That's it.
And so how do we, replace that entire check that you've counted on living on? Because the reality is, it's unlikely that both partners are going to pass at the exact same time.
Right. Well, first and foremost, when you're young and insurable, I highly recommend that everyone have life insurance. And I'm a big proponent of permanent life insurance because you don't know when you're going to die. And I mentioned in an earlier episode that 98% of most term policies never pay a death benefit because they expire before the person does.
And then people just let them lapse and stop paying.
So, immediately when someone dies, you've got final expenses to deal with. You've got funeral, burial, all of those kinds of things. It's not cheap to die. And so life insurance is a tax-free death benefit that can offset some of those costs and maybe put aside a little nest egg as well. But in my specific case, my husband had purchased income annuities that I was able to do a spousal continuation plan on. So the income that he would have received, supplemental income in retirement, now is payable to me when I trigger that benefit. Okay. So I planned, because of what happened to my mom, I planned for the what ifs. And if I had passed first, my husband would have been okay too, because we looked at the scenario just based on experience.
Yeah. So, replacing a hypothetical Social Security check with lifetime income from a fixed index annuity is a great solution. Whether you're taking that income now or you just have it earmarked for
Correct.
if and when that check disappears. That's definitely something that we've utilized with our clients, and it's a game changer.
It's one of the only options I'm aware of that actually gives you the opportunity to create lifetime income that, regardless of who lives, you can run out of money but never out of income. You could drain your account balance to zero, and if you live to be 100, those checks just keep coming. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
People think it's too good to be true when we share it, but it's not.
It's amazing. Absolutely
a lot of people are utilizing it. It's not too good to be true, but you have to have it in order for it to even be good at all, you know?
Right. While we're talking about replacing income, can I share another sad story? Sorry, but another sad story with you. And this is not somebody turning 67 and suddenly passing away. I mean, we all have to realize, I mentioned that I lost a 16-year-old son. We're all going to die. We just don't know when. I have a client in South Carolina who has a young daughter. She's 24 years old, and he's just a terrific guy. I absolutely adore him. And he had prayed his entire life for his daughter to meet the perfect man. Good Christian man, just praying for his little girl, his daddy's girl, to meet the perfect man. And a few years ago, she did. And that story's really fun to tell too, and I won't get into the details now, but his name was Chris, and they met on Facebook and started dating, and they knew right away, they were meant for each other. And so within about 9 months, they were married, and Bud, my client, was proudly walking her down the aisle with tears running down his face. But he was so happy because she met the perfect guy. And this guy had a wonderful career, had already purchased a home. I mean, he was well established and loved kids. And Lauren is her name. That's what she wanted to do most in life, was to get married and have a family. And so about 6 months after they got married, they started trying to get pregnant. And fortunately, they were successful. And so they knew at some point in the pregnancy that they were having a little boy, and they were super excited, had the reveal party that everybody's doing these days. And so 2 weeks before the baby was to be born by C-section, so they knew the date, 2 weeks before, they went to the obstetrician and got to see their little boy, Wyatt. And they had driven separately because Chris had to go back to work. And he left the doctor's office and was 10 minutes away and got hit by a drunk driver and killed 2 weeks before the baby was born. It was so tragic. But, and this is the but, it doesn't take away the tragedy. It doesn't take away the ruined lives. It doesn't take away the fact that Lauren lost the love of her life. It doesn't take away any of that. But 4 months before his passing, his such untimely passing, he had talked to Bud, who's a financial advisor, and he said, I need to get my house in order. I'm responsible. I've got a great job. I've got a family on the way. I need to buy some life insurance. I need to get an estate plan done, a will done, a trust done, powers of attorney for financial and healthcare and all of that. And so he took care of all that in April. He was killed, and 4 months later, his wife was a 24-year-old widow. 2 weeks from having her first child, but he had purchased a $2 million life insurance policy. One of the things that Lauren had to go through as a young widow was making the decision to pull the plug in the hospital because he was brain dead. Had she not been given that power of attorney through his, legal maneuvers, that would have been just a big mess. And So life insurance certainly doesn't heal a broken heart. It doesn't take away the pain. But Lauren's able to stay in the house, raise her child, not have to rush out and find a job. It's going to take years and years and years for this wound to heal, if ever.
Yeah.
But the financial tragedy that could have ensued, would she have been able to stay in the home with a brand new baby? No. Highly doubtful. So it can be kind of morbid to talk about life insurance, but the reality is somebody's going to pay the price when you die. Yes. Do you really want it to be your family who struggles amidst their grief to pay those bills and try to figure out, what's around the next corner? What am I going to do? It's not that hard to do. It's not that hard to take care of.
That's a truly terrible, awful story. And thank you for sharing it. And, thank you to your clients that allowed you to share it. Our heart goes out to Lauren and her baby and the whole family, and a lot of prayers there. But, to our listeners, I know this is a heavy episode, but that's intentional, because the implications of not having your house in order are awful. And, we all love our family and those that are having newborn babies and children and, or even caring for parents. We have to do what is right, and that is getting our house in order. We need to put life insurance in place. We need to have an estate plan, a will, guardians named for our children, healthcare power of attorneys, so that the one that we love doesn't have to make that decision. We made it for them. That's the best gift you can give. And that's our responsibility as advisors, to have these really difficult conversations.
And like I said, when I opened, everybody has a story. Everyone's heard of a story. I'm not trying to scare anyone at all. You don't do this out of fear. You do it out of love. You do it out of a sense of responsibility. It doesn't matter if it's term or permanent. We're big fans of permanent life insurance because of the tax-free income and other benefits that you can potentially earn along the way. But I always say the best life insurance is the insurance you have in force the day you die. And, we can talk about love all day long. It's action that speaks louder than words. And, if my story can propel even one person to action, then it's worth going through the emotion to tell it again and again.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the other thing that doesn't matter what age the client is, they could be in their 20s, 30s, 60s, 70s, doesn't matter. But making sure that both parties are informed of their finances and know what's going on. I mean, sometimes we meet with couples that are extremely successful, but one spouse has all the knowledge of, where their stock holdings are, how to pay all the bills, and how they're going to be pulling income from them every month. And the other spouse just blindly trusts that, it's taken care of. But what happens if that spouse passes away, or something happens, or you get divorced, or, whatever the case may be?
Or even a serious medical issue.
Yeah, incapacitated.
And they're laid up for months and months.
Yeah. We need to have everyone at least have a baseline knowledge of,
Absolutely.
Here's what our income is, here's what our expenses are, here's where our assets are held. And, would I feel more comfortable if I knew that they were safe from market risk?
Right.
At least on a portion of them.
Absolutely.
Probably.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to have to worry about stock market volatility on 100% of my portfolio if something were to happen to
100%.
the spouse.
Yeah, and passwords, things like that,
Yeah.
things we don't think about. You're right. I hear stories all the time about a spouse that has no idea.
It's so common.
One spouse
common.
pays all the bills, does the taxes, does the planning.
And I get that one person has
That's
to
fine.
take charge, a little bit, but both parties, whether you're married or not, it could be two people that are just living together. It could be two family members that are living together. we need to make sure that everyone's at least in the loop and comes and meets with their financial advisor and understands the baseline plan.
So when you work with clients, let me ask you a question. You always require both spouses be present, and
It's not a requirement, but we
okay.
suggest it.
Encourage it,
Mhm.
yeah.
And, because we often do hear sometimes one party will come in and they have certain goals. Sometimes we'll hear women really, really worrying about having that extended health care plan.
It's a big one.
And their husband doesn't really seem to care about it. And so we'll put a plan together and, they'll say, well, I need to talk this over with my spouse. And there becomes that disconnect as soon as they leave the office and have to try to remember how to explain this, which, is something we do every day. It's not something that they're used to explaining to someone else. They don't know what questions to ask, how to answer them. And then, what sometimes happens is they get overwhelmed and say, never mind. I can't bother explaining it. They don't see the importance of it. I don't really need it. And then time goes on, and then, they run into an event where they wish they did it and it's too late. And so having both parties there from the beginning, it just sets up for success for everyone. Whether it be, what they both want or not, we can usually come to some kind of agreement. Well, this spouse feels as though this will put them at ease. Are you on board with that? And usually, yes, we all want everyone to feel relaxed and at, financial peace of mind. So, yeah, we usually do encourage, let's have everyone in on the meeting so that we can answer the questions.
Right.
Because usually, that I need to think about it is really not.
That's a killer.
Time.
Right.
It's not that you need more time to make a decision. You need more information now to make the decision.
Well, I'm really proud of the way you and Lisa have helped so many in this area plan for extended care. I mean, that is a huge topic right now as an aging population. And, people have a lot of questions about healthcare these days and misperceptions of what Medicare covers and doesn't cover. So it's just awesome that you guys focus on that and really help women. It definitely gives me peace of mind to know that my son's not going to have to take care of me if something happens. Yeah. I know he would. He loves me, but he's not going to be forced to do that. So.
Yeah. And so what would you say, would be some advice on getting that house in order? What's the first step? And I know it's going to be different depending on what stage of life you're in, but how do you take that first step? Who do you contact?
Well, I mean, I would highly suggest contacting a professional such as yourself. It's very difficult to do this on your own. I know that you guys go through a very detailed data gathering session where you find out where all the assets are. Even having all of that outlined with passwords and account numbers and things like that, even if they choose not to do business with you, to go through that exercise and leave knowing that both spouses know where all the money is, where all the account numbers are, where all the passwords are, at least is a step in the right direction. From there, I would suggest, doing some goal planning. What is it that when do you plan to retire? How much income are you going to need in retirement? Have you looked at maximizing your Social Security? There are so many options to take Social Security. Which of those works best for you? You work hard to earn that benefit. Let's maximize that. And I know you do that as part of your planning strategy. But it's like a puzzle with all the different pieces. But it takes the very first is just a conversation to understand where everything's at right now. I don't care what age you are. You need to sit down with a financial planner. You really do. I mean, it's never too young to start. You're never too young to start.
And there's no cost. The only cost is an hour out of your time.
That's right.
That's a misconception, is that it's going to cost a lot. And other firms might structure their business different, but we don't charge a fee for plans, for meetings. We get paid either a commission through the insurance carrier or an asset management fee based on the value of your portfolio. And so, besides your time, it really doesn't cost anything. And so why not at least
And you
have
guys
that
are
conversation?
so great at keeping it simple and taking people one step at a time through the process. And like I said before, people, Rome wasn't built in a day. So financial planning can feel overwhelming. But just to sit down and get started and have a trusted advisor that you can share your goals and dreams with. You're never too young to dream. And if you really want to achieve those dreams, you need to start planning now. And it's not that difficult. And if you're doing this, like you said, at no cost to them other than an hour of their time, why wouldn't you? If you could enhance the quality of your life by spending 1 hour with a great financial planner, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah. And, things happen over the years, whether you're young or old, we're all going to experience some form of tragedy at some point in our life. And we need to plan so that we know we'll be okay and our family will be okay. And we can do that.
Yeah.
And we can be there for our clients when things happen to hold your hand and walk you through, your new financial reality sometimes is the case.
Well, and life is full of change. It's not just death. I mean, people change jobs, they get laid off.
They move.
Their life insurance goes with them or goes with the company and not with the employee when they leave. I mean, there are all kinds of changes that occur through life. And so starting with a financial advisor to go on that journey with you through all of those changes of life, whether you're saving to purchase your first home, have Marissa show you how to save more efficiently, or find ways to save a little bit more, make those dreams come true.
Yeah, that employer 401k plan and life insurance policy is not enough. That's not a plan.
No.
That's just a product, and
it's a benefit for working.
A benefit, yeah. That's not a plan. You need a true person behind the plan.
Absolutely.
To be as a resource.
Life is a great adventure, despite the the tragedies and sadness. It's a great adventure, but it's a better adventure when you've got somebody on your side guiding you, knowing that the next step is going to be even that much better because you planned for it.
Yeah. Well, I'm so thankful that you've turned your, tragedy in your 30s into this passionate career, and you've changed so many clients' lives and, mine as well. This really is an incredible industry, and anyone that works with myself or Lisa or you, Dee, I think can see that it's not just a job. We really love what we do. And, for anyone listening, whether you're starting a family on your own, whether you've recently gone through a divorce, lost a loved one, or are worrying about any of those things, we'd love to have a conversation with you and help you take that first step so that you and your family will be okay no matter what happens. So thank you so much, Dee, for joining your second episode. We really appreciate, you shedding some light on these important topics and sharing those difficult stories.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. And I just encourage all of your listeners, take that first step. Marissa and Lisa are amazing. They're fun to be with. They make it simple, and they'll guide you through your journey. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And for anyone listening that wants to schedule either an in-person meeting, Zoom call, or phone call, feel free to go to our website, union-financial.com. You can click the Schedule a Meeting link, and it'll take you right to our personal calendar, where we can schedule a time that'll work best for both of us. I'm your host, Marissa Wood, and we look forward to seeing you next time and helping you achieve a better financial future. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. BCM and Union Financial Services are independent of each other. Insurance products and services are not offered through BCM, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents. The opinions expressed by Marissa Wood and guests on this show are their own and do not reflect the opinions of this radio station. All statements and opinions expressed are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. Investments involve risk and otherwise stated are not guaranteed. Past performance cannot be used as an indicator to determine future results. Any strategies mentioned may not be suitable for everyone. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for you. Before acting on any information mentioned, please consult with a qualified tax or investment advisor to determine if it's suitable for your specific situation. This program is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information with regard to subject covered. Index or fixed index annuities are not designed for short-term investments and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charge as described in the annuity contract. Guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the insurer. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV 2A Item 4, for additional information. Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone.